things, and we opened the Bible, and as I started to read the Bible to explain to her the importance of being in church, in the community, and even though the community is not perfect, because nobody is perfect, not yet, and then she changed her voice. She started to speak like a, rude male voice, and I know that somebody was speaking through her. And this somebody was speaking through her, she got a funny, a very strange face, and then that voice through her would say, "She's mine." You get what I mean? And I got very nervous because I had never been through that before. That, terrible voice was saying, "She's mine. You cannot take her away from me. She's mine." I mean, he thinks she was his possession. That's what happened with this boy. Satan took absolute control of him. But not all of a sudden, little by little. Every day, he healed a little here and a little there. And someday it is likely to happen. The Zero Davis, page 256. Will you allow me to read this little part about how he got into that point? Yeah. Can I read it? He had placed himself on the enemy's ground, and Satan had taken possession of all his faculties. The tempter had allured him with many charming presentations. But when once the wretched man was in his power, he became relentless in his cruelty, and terrible in his angry visitations. So it will be. Now I'm going to read something more important than the first part that I read. So it will be with all who yield to evil. The fascinating pleasure of their early career ends in the darkness of despair, of the madness of a ruined soul. I don't like to read it, but I have to. I know that's not the kind of thing that I'd like to hear, but we have to know this. So it will be with all who yield to evil. The fascinating pleasure of their earthly career ends in the darkness of despair, or the madness of a ruined soul. Now, read for me Mark chapter 5, verse 2. What's it saying there? It says, and when he had come out of the boat, he immediately met him out of the tombs, a man with an unclean spirit. So I ask you, where was this man living? In the tombs. Well, it's not exactly the kind of place someone would, choose to live. I know that he was not paying rent, but there are better places. Verse 3, what does it say? Can you read it? Is your version say dwelling among the tombs? Yeah. So we have this dwelling among the tombs. But the Weymouth translation brings it a different way. And we know that it matches here very well. Listen. The Weymouth translation in Mark chapter 5 verse 3 says, "This man lived among the tombs." Don't you see a contrast here? How can you live where the dead people are? You cannot say, my uncle died, but she's living in the tombs. She's not living in the tombs. She's resting there. Tombs are a place for dead people. But this one, there is a contrast about his life. The Bible is saying that he was alive, isn't it? Doesn't it? Yeah. But at the same time, the Bible is saying that he was dead. How can we sort of understand the controversial idea of these two thoughts? Is he dead or alive? I know that in Brazil we have inherited some funny stories about the zombies. They came from Africa. I don't know if you Africans know, or if you have different names from that. But the zombies are figures that come from Africa. It's some people who are not dead. I mean, they are dead, but they go walking around scaring people. Have you heard about that? Yeah. Have you got zombies in Africa? Yeah? Yes or no? Have you got zombies in Africa? I've been to Africa once, and you have zombies there, thinking about going to see Brazil win this championship in South Africa, but I'm not going there anymore, Brother Wayne. Where are you? You've never seen a zombie, have you? Alright. So this one was like a zombie. I mean, he was dead. He was alive. But actually, he was dead. Revelation chapter 3, I invite you to read along with me. Revelation chapter 3 says, "And to the angel of the church in Sardis write, these things says he who has the 7 spirits of God and the 7 stars." And then comes the last part. But before we read together the last part, I'm going to read something, right?